Hi there, welcome back to All Things Home Care. I'm your host, Dana Arnone, and we're at part two with Norma. She was part of our panel of women discussion before on our last podcast. We just thought it was important to keep her around to discuss the foundation that you are one of the co-founders of, because it really is something that gives information to people, and I'm an information giver and supporter of people giving information. So that's why we asked you to stay and have a second podcast. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into the foundation and how, the foundation can help people, support people. What kind of things do they do, or you do, as far as someone needing some direction? So the foundation is the Lewy Body Dementia
Resource
Center.
Center.
I was so close. I almost had
That's
it.
okay. Yes.
But that's something that people will probably, if they're listening to this right now, they're saying, "Oh, my mother has that symptom. My father has that symptom." What should they do?
If anybody is listening I just want to repeat again what the symptoms are for anyone who's not hearing, because I may not have said all of them, because unfortunately there are so many. For someone who has any symptoms of showing dementia, and when I say dementia, it may not just be a memory problem. They call it executive function, meaning it can be something as simple as having problem with a remote control, not being able to retrieve answers quickly enough. And a lot of people with dementia, especially with Lewy body, will take time to answer you. So instead of answering in the 1 second that we're used to, it may take them 10 or 20 seconds to answer something at times. So Lewy body consists of cognition problems and Parkinson's symptoms, and I want to explain that.
I was actually going to ask that, because to me, Parkinson's is cognitive, the shake, the shuffle, the gait issues.
Well, then you know more than most people, because when I say Parkinson's symptoms, most people think they'll say shaking in the hands,
or the swallowing problems.
No, but people don't know. The average person doesn't know that. You know that because you're a nurse. Yeah. But generally speaking, Parkinson's symptoms, because I never knew one until I found out that.
But which one would, if someone has the symptoms, which symptoms shows itself first? Is it somebody that will walk and trip, or is it someone who says, "Oh, I forgot where my key"? Like, what is the symptom? How does it show itself?
What I want to say is Parkinson's symptoms in general, and then I'll just go back to that, is if someone is shuffling when they walk, when they're walking like this, if someone's shuffling, or they have stiffness in their arms and their legs, they may also have a blank stare. It's called a Parkinson's. It's like a mask. Their mouth can be open. That's a typical Parkinson's look. It used to be the criteria for someone who had Lewy body would have dementia and Parkinson's symptoms within the same year. That has now changed. So if someone has Parkinson's and has been diagnosed with that, and then you start seeing they're having problems with dementia a year or 2, 3, 4, even 5 years out, it's the same exact disease, only they call it Parkinson's with dementia. It's the same. But someone who has Lewy body is going to have symptoms of dementia and Parkinson's, and generally hallucinations. And the hallucinations...
That's the difference of the two, right?
Absolutely. They're actually more, because interestingly, the hallucinations for someone who is not having frightening hallucinations is they have them of children and small animals.
It's funny, because I had a patient one time that used to see cats. And she would scream that the cats were in her room. Scream, 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 scream. And I'm like, there's no cats. So we're just thinking, it's part of the dementia. But now that you mention it, but it was always this cat. And the cat was on the bed. The cat was over there on the side of the,
Yes.
It was interesting.
And so usually when they're small animals and children, they're not, they don't find them frightening. They may just say they're noticing them and they're not afraid.
There's a little girl.
Well, some other people could have really frightening hallucinations, and so that's when they may need medication. There's ways of talking to them. So to answer, I just want to say again, some of the other symptoms. Depression is another symptom, a REM sleep disorder, and when I say that, that's an early sign. It means that someone is thrashing in their sleep. They could end up punching the person that's sleeping next to them. They're having nightmares, or they're talking in their sleep. And that's an early sign of it, just as restless leg syndrome is. There's also...
I have that.
Yeah, I used to have it
too.
And also there's what they call a visual spatial problem, so that if someone goes to pick up a cup, they may go over here because the depth perception is different. And again, I want to say the fluctuations. Someone who has this disease, key to it is they are not the same every day. And so there's such a big caregiver burden, and I want people to realize that, because for someone who just have Alzheimer's, they can expect the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Parkinson's, it affects every muscle. It's a terrible disease. This is a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of dealing with the fluctuations and then people never hearing of the disease, it's a tremendous burden on caregivers. As you asked me before, what can the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center do?
Well, I just have another question, though.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with dementia, you expected 80, 85, an older person. So with the Lewy body, I mean, Robin Williams wasn't that old. So what is there an age?
It is approximately the same as with Alzheimer's. So
Okay.
generally it will be an older person in their 70s, 75, but it can start earlier for many people in their 60s. He was in his 60s. There is some early onset, just like early onset
Dementia.
Alzheimer's when it starts in the 50s.
So if someone has dementia or Alzheimer's, if someone calls up and they're talking to me and I'm saying, we're talking about symptoms and stuff, I tell them you need to go be evaluated by a neurologist. So
Absolutely.
Same
Thank
thing.
you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
But that's the first thing I say. Don't go to your doctor, the PCP. Go to a neurologist. Let the neurologist, do the dementia screening process that they have. And so for me, it's always neurologist.
Absolutely.
Same thing for the
Absolutely.
Okay.
You would want a neurologist. They're the ones
for the
who
Parkinson's
can.
too, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so but it depends on the type of neurologist, and most important for all of the above is that they need to talk about the history, because if you just go into the office and say my mother is forgetting something, you need to, or the doctor needs to ask, is there a problem with sleep? Is there a depression problem? You want to mention every little thing that's going on. Did your father hit the side of the curb with the car? All these little things help it, because you can't see the fluctuations in an office visit. You can't even see the visual problems, which is why I've been starting to talk to groups of ophthalmologists, because, for instance, my mother said, I need to go to the eye doctor. I need new glasses, she said. And you go there and the vision is the same. So I've asked the ophthalmologist to please, if you see that the vision is the same, please take note, is this person shuffling and having Parkinson's symptoms? Ask them if there's nightmares at night, if there's any other issues, are there fluctuations in the cognition? All of these are signs, and you don't want them given the wrong medication.
No, like anything else, having the proper diagnosis is key.
Absolutely.
So the foundation. So someone's saying, "Oh, Norma, wow, my mom's maybe has this issue going on." What is it? They call your foundation. What's the phone number, first of all? How do they get in contact with you?
Okay, so we have a helpline that's 7 days a week from 8 to 8, and the number is 516-218-2026.
Okay.
Also, the website is lbdny.org.
Okay.
But and they can send emails by going through the website as well. We are there to help every single day. I don't care how many times you need to call to ask questions, and we have support groups in Manhattan, Nassau County, Suffolk County, and now in Westchester as well.
So in Nassau County, because our primary focus is Nassau County and the boroughs for Reliance. So in Nassau County, where is it?
It's in Lynbrook, at the Lynbrook Library. That's where we meet. All the groups meet once a month, and the one in Lynbrook is the second Monday of each month at 11 a.m. at the library, and all that information is online as well.
Oh, okay.
The part that I think we help with the most is we know the nuances, the little things that other people don't know. So even if the person has been diagnosed correctly by a neurologist, then what happens when you go home? There's nobody to speak to. You don't know if so for instance, when you were talking about hallucinations and seeing the cat, I like to give an example of when my mother at this point was using a cane and she had hardwood floors. She saw marks in the floors and she said, look at all the bugs on the floors.
Yeah.
And I, at the time, didn't know how to handle that. And I said, Ma, as I would, Ma, there are no bugs on the floor. Well, that was
Wrong.
not the right way to handle it. So what we try to do is give people helpful hints on the best practices for that. So instead, I should have or would say, I will get a broom and get all the bugs, sit down, don't worry about it. Never argue with a person with dementia because it's their reality, as you know. And so this way, not only are you taking care of the problem, they don't have to think about how to do it. They feel better because they know that you're believing them. And because once you start arguing or you feel frustrated or you get angry, they feel that they feel that so much. And part of the other part is I tell them they are extremely sensitive to energy, so that when any of us are frustrated or angry or annoyed, they take that on so much. The more we can be patient and loving, just like all of us want to be treated, it goes so far because they really appreciate that.
One of the things that we do here, which I think sets us apart from other companies, is that we have what we do in services with our aides all the time. We let them pick certain topics that they're seeing in their homes and things that will help support them. But we also have, which you might want to do out there in the field, but we have a virtual dementia tour. And the virtual dementia tour, to me, is I learned many years ago when I was an aide. I had a great mentor, a nursing supervisor, that would say, "Okay, sit in that chair." They would put glasses on us, and they would like, "This is a makeshift dementia tour," but she didn't know what she was doing back then. She should have known how progressive she really was.
Yes.
But she'd smudge stuff on our glasses, and she would sit us in a wet a towel, so we're sitting in a diaper.
She did that back then.
This is 30 years ago when I was a nurse's aide, and she'd be like, "Dana, can you see anything?" I can't see anything. How can you see? Well, when you walk past an elderly person, clean their glasses because they can't see either. Don't assume that they can't see because they can't see. Assume that they can't see because their food is on their glasses. But anyway, what we have here is that we have a virtual dementia tour, so that it's it's a sensory tour. We put the little lifts in their shoes so they feel the neuropathy. We put the glasses on them so their peripheral vision is obscured. We put the muffled ear so they can't really hear. So I can be talking to you. So now you're taking away their senses, and then they're putting gloves on them so that the textile is not there. And then we're like, all right, then you give them 6 tasks to do, and you can't do a thing. So when you put somebody in the position of how it feels to be that person, and their mind, I mean, the dementia patient's mind is not fine, but the person doing it that we're putting the tour through, their mind is fine, and they still cannot pick up a cup. They can't tie their shoes. They can't, and now we're expecting. I like to put the aide in the position of the patient so that you have empathy and you have humility when you're going to go out there and you're going to take care of somebody.
That is so important, Dana.
It is.
I'm so happy to hear that you do that here because
awesome.
I have seen it online many times, and I know that certain few facilities do that, but I had no idea that at Homecare.
Well, because there's nothing worse to me than I want the aides that we put in people's homes to understand the job, and they have to understand the importance. It's not just a paycheck, because then you can't work for me, because if it's just a paycheck to you, then you have to go. But for me also is that sometimes they haven't been given the opportunity. They're not educated, they're not taught. One of the things that we're seeing now, which I hope comes to fruition, is that you have an elderly person that's in the home, may have diabetes, they may have a tube feeding, and the aide can't do any of that. We can't touch a diabetic, we can't do a blood sugar, we can't help with the insulin. So they're actually trying to make a higher level of a certificate for a home health aide so that to be able to give medicines and understand the medicines.
Oh, they are?
They're trying, yes, and it's important. It's good.
Because it never made sense that they can't help with medication.
They
that
cannot.
You have to have someone come in and
well,
do that.
there is a reason for it. Yes,
I do know there's a reason, but I mean just to have it ready to be able to hand it, because you needed someone to hand it to them if they can't.
They can't do it. They can't see. They can open it. Yes. But the same thing about the dementia tour. The virtual dementia tour to me is I used to say I can't do it right now because we only have 2, but every aide that comes through my door, they have to take the tour. I'll get there. I'm not there yet, but we do it on in-service so that they actually can sit back and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know."
I'm thrilled that you do that, and I just want to offer we are happy to add to your in-service if it.
I would think that would
we want it.
Education is key. Yes,
education is key. I speak in as many places as I can about this, and we're trying to train as many aides as we can and as many people as we can so that they know what the disease is. So we're happy to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
I'm glad we met.
Yes.
So they call up, they can get some support groups, they can get, is there funding for people? Like one of the things that I like too is that I deal with a lot of people that are in that gray area of private pay and Medicaid. So they don't quite qualify for Medicaid, but they really can't afford services because we're expensive. I don't want to be expensive. It's the nature of having a business in the state of New York. So I always want to try to think, is there a way to get funding for people to have care in the home other than Medicaid? Because Medicaid is not for everybody. And a lot of times there's some elderly people that say, it's a handout, I don't want to, so they don't. It's just changing, but is there funding for people to have care in the home?
Unfortunately, not through. We are a small nonprofit. In fact, all of us are volunteers.
Yeah.
We're all doing this because we had family members with the disease. I don't know of any funding at this time. Because we're an organization, we're not a foundation. There are many foundations that may possibly give a grant for something like that. I don't know of any at this time. I wish we were able to do that. I can't I have pages and pages and books of all the things that I
I'm
you know,
planning on doing.
that we want to do,
Yeah.
and we're doing a lot. I'm having our first conference October 16th in the city at Sarah Beth's. It's the first Lewy Body conference that we're having. We have a whole panel of doctors, and we're having a panel, we're calling them the experts. We have 2 neurologists, a neuropsychologist, someone from the brain center, a geriatrician, and then we have another panel called the caregivers, the other experts.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of resources. It's going to be.
Will that be
a
live to share for people that maybe, the type of patients that we deal with a lot of times are homebound. They can't get out. They don't have the ability, or it costs them a lot of money to get to, the doctor. So we actually supply through Medicare, but we supply a lot of the doctors to go to the patients' homes and deal with the issues in the house rather than having to take the expense of going out. So will this be something that people can access online? Or
this particular one, we will end up having it videotaped, so there'll be part that they
That's
can
good.
access later on. But I also wanted to say that on our website, in addition to giving information on the disease, we also have resources for every topic. For instance, for veterans information, for Meals on Wheels.
Yeah. You like social work.
So, yeah. Supply stores, surgical supply stores, all that type of thing. We listed every single thing we could think of so that all caregivers for every disease could go right here and have them. So I also welcome any information for more physical therapists, music therapists, because we have alternative therapies, to list them for people so that we can train them more about Lewy body and then offer those services to people, meaning that we have them listed.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. For me, we do a lot of entitlements here. We don't do them. We do social work a lot. So we send social workers to the homes all the time, just to talk about, the entitlements that they can get from the veterans, because there's entitlements, not a whole lot, but there is something.
Absolutely.
So we do connect people with the veterans all the time. And even
That's great to know.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of we help set up Meals on Wheels. We help set up Medicaid. We do Medicaid here every day. We do a lot of pro bono.
You do?
We do. Medicaid is a big thing that we do here because there's a lot of people. I don't want to say that they shouldn't go to lawyers but they don't have to. So we do a lot of pro bono work for people, getting them onto Medicaid and educating them about community Medicaid and what it can provide for them. People think that they're not qualified, and that's not true. People think they're going to lose their house. That's not true. People think they can't own a house, and that's not true. People also think that they can't have income, and that's not true as well.
Absolutely.
So we do all that for them in here. We're like a one-stop shop. So it's
That's great to hear. That's what
yes.
we're trying to be too on
Yes.
on our website.
Yeah, very
at
good.
this
That's
point.
that's impressive. But I'm happy to be able to learn about it because it's something that I, as a nurse, I'm kind of far removed now from certain things. So learning about it and doing something about it.
I want to tell you that I'm thrilled to hear all that you do as a home care agency, because I have never heard of one doing all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And plus, the way you are training training the aides who are coming here, because that was also something that was so important to me. Having had women live with me for 7 years when my mom was bedridden all those years, so I got to know them so well, so highly respected them, but also know how many of the aides are not respected. And if anyone knew the kind of work that they do, I think I really want to hold something to honor the people who have helped me.
I will
and
help you 1,000%.
Let's do it.
I will help. For me, I say this all the time, and if an aide walks through my door for employment, and if I won't send them to my best friend's house, which there's times that I have not, if I won't send them to my mother's house, which there's times I would not, my mother doesn't need care, but but if I won't put them into somebody's home that I hold dear, they're not going to someone else's house. And I have to tell you, that makes my pickings very slim.
I know
because
that.
there's a lot.
It's not
There's work
easy.
to be done, and let's just put it that way.
to be done.
So for me, that's what we do here all the time. We try to really place the right person in the right home. But if someone walks in here and I'm like, I'm not sending them to my best friend's mother's house, which I actually had to have happen, I would not do it. I'd rather, you can't.
That's very special.
Well,
So,
it's not always about the dollar bill. It's not always about, making the money. Although we do have to pay our bills. But at the end, we definitely try to take pride in what we do.
And it's the same thing that the ones who made the green homes, when you are respecting each other like that, it's so much easier to work together, and it makes everything better.
It does.
all
Well,
around.
you know, you always have to have a common mission. You have to have a common cause. You know, you have to care. If you don't care, then nothing is going to change. So that's why, you know, when I met Christine Pellegrino and her team, it's like they want change. They want to help. And it's very important to us
We
here,
really
too.
care.
Yeah, well, you know what, there's nothing, I've always had a likeness, I don't know why, for the old people. And so for me, if I see someone disrespecting an elderly person or not doing the right thing, or any signs of abuse or verbally or whatever, even though they may not think it's abuse, but to me it's abusive, you got a problem.
Same here.
Yeah, so that's my path in life, Anthony. What do you think about that?
I like it.
Norma, if someone wants to get in touch with the foundation, just give that phone number again, and the certain locations in which that you guys are able to help people would be.
Yeah, so I meant to mention that we have resources for all over New York, but we have now added Florida as well. And we noticed how much work and information needs to be done all over the country. So we are trying to add as many states as we can. It happens slowly because our resources we have so many that we might have at least 500 pages on the website.
Wow.
So, and we need them to add for every state. So we have Florida as well. They can call the same phone number, but there's resources on the website as well, and we hope to have California and Michigan to be the next two states.
Oh, fascinating. That's amazing. Good work.
Thank
Good
you
work.
so much.
So that phone number, just one more time.
Is 516-218-2026.
And I'm sure that we can get the link onto our website, so if people want to access Reliance at hssny.com, we can connect you with Norma and her
Thank you,
team.
and we are very happy to list you as well.
Oh, thank you. And tell Sue I'm so happy that she introduced us.
I will
Yes,
too.
yes, very
I
nice.
will, absolutely.
So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.